Hey guys, Thetcglover here. How are we doing today? So today's video is going to be talking about the confusion with tier lists. Facebook groups, Pojo, Duelist Grounds, anywhere you go where you look at Yugioh posts and sort of have the Yugioh discussions, you will realize that most people, around 90% of people, think that a tier list is just a consensus on how strong a deck is based on its win rate, or on a more basic level, how strong the deck is theoretically, which is obviously the worst way to go about it because that would make one of the worst tier lists in existence. So tier list, in my opinion, okay, to clear up this whole confusion, is measured by deck representation at tier 2 events. Necros is tier 1 statistically because it claims over 40% of all top 32 spots in tier 2 events. From that, we can deduce that you can only have 2 tier 1 decks at any given time. Of course, in the past, we've had very diverse formats, which allowed us to have very, very large tier 1 sort of spread, okay? So, of course, we cannot really have that because ideally we need to be seeing a tier 1 list where only one or two tier 1 decks take, okay? Because you can't have 120% representation of 3 different tier 1 decks. So you have 40% tier 1 of one tier 1 deck, and then you have another 40%, which makes 80, and then you've got a little bit of wiggle room for a couple of tier 2 decks, okay? So the more tier 1 decks there are, the less diversity there is in the format. So that is how we can deduce that the tier list is working, because you start to see this kind of hierarchy a pyramid hierarchy start to really narrow on this bottom, so that you can't actually play a deck for it. You can't play more than maybe 4 decks in a given format. So one tier 1 deck allows for a very, very large pyramid where there's a lot of tier 3, a lot of tier 2, and 1 tier 1. There's also shouldn't be more than 3 tiers at the most, okay? A lot of people feel like their random rogue deck should be on a tier, okay? But as we know, it's all based on deck representation. So people say that their rogue deck should be tier 4 or something, but if it has not managed to claim a single spot in any top 32 of any tier 2 event, then it's not a tier deck because there are no statistics to actually be able to put the deck on a tier list and say, actually, it topped 1 regional, so it could be on tier 3, but it actually has not succeeded in actually doing so this format. So therefore, something like Noble Knights, which is completely capable of being on the tier list, actually hasn't done anything and no one actually wants to play it, so therefore, it's not even a tier. Okay? Makes sense? Good. So the tier list is a lot more cutthroat and a lot more strict than when people give it credit for. So the tier list shouldn't stop you from playing a tier 2 deck, okay? If it's tier 2, for example, the deck that you want to play and take to an event, if it's tier 2, it means that it can hold its own against every other deck in the tournament. That means that if it plays against tier 3, it can handle itself pretty well. If it plays against tier 1, for example, to play Shadows against Necros, you need to cater your deck to beat Necros, okay? Because if you're going to play against a deck that has a higher tier than yours, you need to prepare your side deck and ideally prepare your main deck to beat this deck. And that kind of in its own way, it allows you to succeed much better rather than just playing Necros, because Necros you have to play against every other kind of deck which is out there to kill you. But if you play on the outside in, then you actually get to see your mains and your sides actually working really well against a deck that you put the cards in to beat. So in conclusion, a deck can only be at its tier with enough representation and success. If one person brings a rogue deck to a YCS and they win with it, the deck is not on a tier unless the deck snowballs in popularity and starts to represent itself in large numbers and claim lots of top 32 spots. Then it will be on the tier list. Okay? Makes sense? So I hope that clears up some of the confusion that people have with tier lists, because I don't want to make this video too long, so hopefully you guys made sense of it. Of course, if you have any confusions, then comment down below and I'd love to iron out any details in case you're confused. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, the Thetcglover is out.